everyone, and welcome to another game of World of Warships. Today it's one of my replays, and I'm in the Haarlem, a ship that I'm probably mispronouncing. An upcoming Tier 8 Tech 3 Dutch cruiser. Now I'm on the map Two Brothers in a 4-point domination game. It's a Tier 8 battle, which is lovely. Carrier is only Tier 6, which is also rather lovely. And there you can see I'm already using the airstrike feature. Now this ship is coming with the next patch in, I think, well, the usual early access bundle bullshit. But anyway, so, well, we can see an airstrike here deployed against a smoke screen. You can see a shit ton of bombs, and I actually hit the destroyer there once. Now you have two airstrikes, but they reload one after another, so they don't reload both at the same time. Now let's try it again. So I think the bombs that hit were a little bit in the back, so I'm trying to position my next airstrike a little bit for that. There you see a countdown when the airstrike will arrive. When this is 0, basically the bombs are going to hit. Give you a bit of an idea about the delay. And speaking of planes, there is the enemy area coming in. I'm focusing my anti-air, I'm using defensive fire, and those planes are all dead. Now keep in mind this was only a Tier 6 carrier, but the AI is actually decent. Which is always nice to see, that you can defend yourself a little bit against planes. Also, by the way, I got more bomb drops. I did 6,000 damage with 4 bombs against a destroyer in smoke screen unspotted. Now, of course, destroyer could have moved a bit more. With all blind shots, I guess there was obviously some luck involved that I hit the position where he was at, but anyway, I should talk more about this ship in total. So, the guns suck. There is no easy way around that. You have, I think, like battle cruiser dispersion. So basically you have rather bad dispersion on those high explosive shells. The alpha damage of the high explosive shells is not the highest. They are 203mm, so you don't need RFHE. You get, I think, 34mm pen. So, you know. It's just that the whole package with the dispersion, with the reload, with the alpha damage of those guns, they feel rather lackluster. I actually got the Bismarck there. And you can see there are 3 non-penetrations. The bombs, I forgot what the pen on the bombs is, but I think something similar. So you might have problem penning some ships stack armor with that, but you know, some ships like have very high, big superstructure anyway, and you will go through the noses and the sterns, I believe, so there is that. Now, speaking about the bombs have a very high fire chance, especially since there are so many, and you usually get, well, if you get a good hit, you get more than 1 hit. And I feel like one of the interesting things about the bombs are really the fires. I've played this ship a couple of times. I think it's 6 battles in total, so it's not like I haven't hardcore tested the ship. There's still somewhat early impressions, I guess. But what I found out is that the bombs are very, very good at setting fires. What this means is that if you have 2 airstrikes prepared, you don't necessarily want to drop both at the same time. You drop 1 airstrike, you set 1 or 2 fires, and if the enemy doesn't damage con, then you are content. And if they do damage con, then you launch the second airstrike a little bit delayed, in order to, you know, get more fires, and then they just burn. And that's really, I feel like, what you... I mean, I guess it depends, especially against battleships, right? Against cruisers, I guess you do a little bit more direct damage anyway, and they are better at damage conning, so... Yeah, you see, there was... it was, what, 5,000 damage, I think, from the bombs and 1,900 from the guns. I mean, you'll see a couple of times in this battle that the guns just are lackluster. And the reason the guns are so lackluster is because they needed to balance out the airstrikes. And the defense, I guess. So, this ship has 40,000 hit points for a Tier 8 cruiser, which is pretty decent. You also have heals. And having a Tier 8 cruiser with heals and lots of hit points obviously means you gotta suck somewhere else. So, got target from broadside. I'm trying to load armor piercing, but he's already dead. I guess we can just finish off the Gallusian there in the back and then reload high explosive. So yeah, also by the way, in this battle I have spec'd into the anti-air skill, so you saw the anti-air pretty impressive earlier, but keep in mind it's a tier 6 carrier and I'm full anti-air spec right now because I wanted to see. But as I said, the anti-air is at least decent here, right? Which is a good thing. So yeah, you have basically decent anti-air with a defensive fire, you have heals, you have the hit points, you have a hydro. But you know, the guns just had to pay the ultimate price. Now the airstrike is ready again. I could drop this. Now with the airstrike, when I launch it again, you can see, like, if you zoom in with the airstrike, then you get a reasonable view, but as you will see later, if you're trying to drop behind islands, sometimes you can't really see where you drop. But you do have, obviously, the minimap, right, where you can see where you're aiming. So that's a very helpful tool there. And there you can see, right, if you zoom in, and this is a little bit annoying that I feel like it screws with your zoom levels when you switch to the airstrike and switch out again and so on. So I got quite often a bit annoyed with the camera, but besides that, he is going in and you see he's only sailing through a little bit there. That's 4 bomb hits, no fire. It's unfortunate. So anyway. Overall, this battle is going pretty well for us. There is now a cyclone coming. Not really, I guess, the best for the Dutch. Torpedoes would be much more useful in close quarters than those airstrikes. And ouch. I mean, you're still a cruiser, right? And battleships still do a lot of damage. But once again, you see, like, just having heals, just being able to recover quite a bit after a salvo like this is worth so much. I wish more tier 8 cruisers had heals, but that's just a problem, right? At some point there is just a jump. For cruisers it's like tier 8 to tier 9, because at tier 9 everyone has heals, and at tier 8 it's just such a premium feature, I guess. Anyway. We found the Kagero. My hydro is unfortunately not running. Oh, and there is the Ismail. Now first let's take care of the Kagero, and then we see what we can do about the Ismail. So once again, trying to launch some bombs. It takes a bit of, I mean, predicting where to launch this airstrike takes a bit of getting used to, I guess. Let's see if I can get a hit. And there is an anchorage. So anchorage got torpedoes, and I don't have a hydro right now. There you can see 2 fires, right? I guess Wargaming just took a look at this whole thing and thought, you know, what the game really needs. And they were like, well, being on fire and airstrikes, right? That's really what was missing in this game. More fires and more planes. So Wargaming was like, how can we combine those two? And they came up with Dutch cruisers. They'd be like, how about we have a cruiser that can launch airstrikes that set you on fire? And that's how the Dutch cruiser line was conceived. So I might be aiming a little bit too far in the rear here. I'm not actually sure how far the anchorage extends, but you can see this plane indicator that, like, we all know that islands are very tricky in this game and oftentimes prevent shells that they shouldn't prevent or things like that. So that's why I aimed a little bit too far to the rear, maybe earlier. But hey, so the anchorage is dealt with, and overall this game is obviously going to be a win. There are only 3 enemies remaining. And we'll see what we find next. The carrier is still somewhere, you know, we can speed this up until I find something in the cyclone. So yeah, what is my verdict about the Haarlem in total? I mean, it's a decent ship, you know. The thing is that I'm not entirely sure how fun of a ship it is, in a sense. I mean, early on, playing around with airstrikes can actually be fun. Well, for you, not so much for the enemy that's getting airstriked, I guess. But it's just that the guns feel like really... There you can see, right? I want to aim here into the water. Now, you can look here at the minimap a bit, but I have no idea where I basically aimed this. I mean, the T-61 is too fast anyway, I would have needed to aim differently. So depending on the exact island, sometimes it's not so easy to drop right behind them. Sometimes it is. I mean, you got a pretty reasonable angle for going there. Now the Weser is spotted, and obviously shooting a carrier is something that we'd all enjoy very much. But there is also an Ismail, and the Ismail I feel like is the bigger threat. I mean, at this point, as I said earlier, it doesn't matter, we have won anyway. So I'm launching an airstrike here on the Ismail, hoping for some fires. And there we go. Oh no, wait, those were my guns. Bombs coming in. And there is another fire, but you can see there is a lot of non-pens here, right? The thing is, Russians obviously don't really have the most superstructure. So you can't just non-pen their deck. Instead, you should like have a German deck. Armor isn't that bad, but there's so much superstructure that you're probably getting a lot of hits into those. But in cases like this, you know, it's all about fires. Of course, against Russians, the Russians will just use their damage con with a low cooldown. And get rid of your fires. So. And yeah, my pen really isn't enough to go through this. Well, actually, honestly, I could go through the stern. Instead of shooting the superstructure, I should be just shooting the stern. So. And we've set some more fires. The game is soon going to be over, though, right? As soon as the carrier sinks. Well, and that brings us to the results. By the way, something that I forgot to mention so far, the airstrike is a main armament, right? The airstrike is not a consumable. It's basically just like another gun that you have. You can't see me performing air quotes, but anyway. So, turns out it was a decent match there. And if we take a look at the damage that I dealt, I did actually 22,000 with airstrikes and 47,000 with my main guns. So the airstrikes, even though the single bombs don't do that much, they do add up. And then I did another 18,000 with fires. And I guess that's just how this thing is designed, right? In order to balance the airstrikes, they have decided to just nerf your main guns. And then they gave you enough survivability, so in order to get close enough to perform more airstrikes, because the range is like 12 kilometers. So yeah, this whole ship is designed around striking something with your bombs. If you don't get good airstrikes off, you're probably going to not have a lot of fun here. And, you know, I'm not sure what to think about this whole thing, to be honest. As I said, right, they just decided what we need is more planes and fires, so they decided to combine those to create airstrikes. And now we all have to live with it. Well, anyway, this is it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and see you next time.